Hi, everybody. My name is Lily. I am a marketing coordinator here at Ugly Mug Marketing, and I'm so excited to get to chat with you guys today on this webinar, whether you are coming from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're watching this after the live is already done, I'm so glad that you are intrigued to come back and listen to this webinar. Be sure to stay till the end because there's just a lot of fun information. And I don't include this in the slides, but if you are interested in getting these slides from me, feel free to email me. It's Lily, Lily, at uglymugmarketing.com. And it's also in this webinar. You'll see it a couple times. So if you have any questions, want to chat, review anything, want the slide deck for today's webinar, please feel free to let me know. But today we are going to be talking about, can you handle the feedback? 3 key principles that will shape the way that you receive feedback. So if you saw the email that I wrote, which if you're not a part of our email newsletter, please be sure to reach out to me and I will get you the access to join that. We send out emails once to twice per week, a lot of good information, a lot of educational information, and we also let you know about our upcoming webinars. But in the email, I was talking all about feedback. I kind of went the non-marketing route, which is something I wouldn't typically do, just because I love talking about marketing and all that it involves. But in the email, I talked about how we read this book last quarter called Thanks for the Feedback by Douglas Stone and Sheila Heen. I believe is how you say her last name. But as you can see, a lot of tabs in there, lots of good information in this book. Wayne, the owner of Ugly Mug Marketing, definitely makes it a mission that we are constantly learning. And so pretty much every quarter we read a different book. And this one was definitely a 10 out of 10, one that I recommend anyone that is in the business realm, whether you own your own company, whether you manage a company or looking to maybe start your own brand, start your own business. Definitely recommend that you pick it up, even if you're just a mom or a dad. And you just really need to, I don't know, get some advice on how to handle feedback, how to give feedback. Highly recommend this one. This book definitely leans more on the receiving end of feedback. So when someone's giving you the feedback, how do you react and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. And there is going to be a giveaway at the end of this webinar for your own copy of Thanks for the Feedback from our team here at Ugly Mug. So be sure to stay till the end to learn how to enter to win that. So let me talk a little bit more about myself, I guess. So a few of my favorite things, if you've ever been on a webinar or coffee chat, then I say the same things every single time, but I am a power lifter, so I love powerlifting. I've been doing that since I was a freshman in high school, so 2013, and then went to college to do it, did it all 4 years there, and then a year into grad school. And now I coach at my alma mater at Alexandria Senior High. So that's a fun fact. I also love my golden retriever, Mr. Flash. I'm doing an Instagram story takeover today. So if you go over there, you can see this morning a video and a picture that I took with him before I left the house. But Mr. Flash, the best boy ever. And then obviously the Bengals and Joe Burrow. I used to live about 2 hours from Cincinnati. So kind of went there quite often. I've been to 2 games at Paycor Stadium, 2 or 3 at Paycor Stadium, and actually have sat directly behind his parents at a game, and to this day kick myself for not getting a picture with him. And then and don't ask me about him dyeing his hair blonde. You know, when you love someone, you just kind of, you go with it. You let them do what they do because you love them. So before we get started, let's really deep dive into if you really understand feedback. So we're going to be talking about the types of feedback. And this type of feedback specifically is from this book, Thanks for the Feedback. And those 3 types are appreciation, coaching, and evaluation. So with appreciation, this is the recognition and praise of something that you've done. So this can sound like, you did a great job on that project. I'm really proud of you. You're doing a great job. Then you have coaching, and coaching is more on like the guidance side of it. So this kind of gives you feedback on how to improve and how to develop your different skills. So this will seem more like, I noticed maybe you struggle with time tracking this quarter. Here are some tips that I use in order to have better skills when it comes to time tracking, or to just make it more of a daily part of my routine. And then you have evaluation. So this is an assessment of your performance. And this is typically the one, at least in my opinion, that I feel like people have the hardest time with is the evaluation part, because it's typically someone not judging you, but giving you feedback based on your performance, that go against maybe your company standards, against your expectations. Here ugly mug expectations are a big thing. So typically, when I hear that word, I think of ugly mug marketing. And so with the evaluation, typically it's what you're doing versus the standard of a company, or the expectations that they have for you. So this can look, a quote for evaluation can look like, based on your performance this quarter, these things went really well. However, this did not. Let me give you some feedback on X, Y, and Z. The next thing is the context of the relationships. And so I feel like this is something that seems like it is so, like, you should just know, like, it just makes sense. But whenever we were reading the book, I was like, I didn't realize that how important the context of your relationship truly matters when it comes to how you receive their feedback. So for me, I definitely, like, my colleagues that I have in the office, or even maybe you guys, if you have colleagues that you work directly with, so you're not their manager, you're not their boss, they're not your boss, you're just simply, like, on the same playing field. Sometimes it can be easier, or maybe even harder, to take feedback from them. Easier because you're in the same boat. Maybe they've been here a little bit longer, they know a little bit more. But typically your context of your relationship is going to depend on whether or not you, or how you receive their feedback. Whereas if you're getting feedback from your boss or your manager, depending on your relationship with them, you can feel like they're coming at you from a negative space. Whereas me, my manager, Hannah Broom, which I'm sure you guys have seen at some point because she has been an ugly mug almost 8 years now. But our relationship, I trust her, and I know that everything she tells me is for my own best interest. So the feedback that I receive from her, typically I always hopefully take it really well, or at least give myself time to, like, evaluate it, because I trust that everything that she tells me is out of the goodness of her heart, and it's to help me grow as not even a marketing coordinator, but also just as a human in the working field in general. And then other things like your clients or your customers, this is typically the kind of feedback that you don't necessarily want, but it's super important that you take into consideration, because those are the people that are keeping your business afloat 99% of the time. So in my email, I wrote, you don't have to take 100% of the feedback that you get and change your entire business model. But it is important to receive that feedback, simply because those are the people that are supporting you, that are buying your product, that are buying your service. And so their feedback really does matter, because that just depends on how, the projection of the future of your business. And so the relationships that you have with them also play a huge part in feedback and how you receive it. If it's a first time customer, maybe you don't trust their feedback as well, but it's also a good perspective from an outsider who's maybe never visited your store, or never had one of your services or products before. So definitely understanding your different types of relationships, and the benefits of what it's like being with that person. So do you trust them? Do you not trust them? Have you met them before? Are you weary of them? Do they scare you? Those kind of things truly matter when it comes to receiving feedback. And you'll notice that just understanding the feedback is not enough. You have to truly understand everything that goes inside of it. So now, I did this last time where I had a coughing fit. So I'm going to take a sip of my drink. That way, because I'm talking a lot. So now we're going to get into kind of like the whole purpose of why I wanted to do this webinar, which were the three key principles to processing feedback. So you have 1, recognizing your triggers; 2, understanding the feedback, or understand the feedback; and then 3, separate the feedback from your identity. So number 1, recognizing triggers and how to apply them to your life. So the 3 different types of triggers that Thanks for the Feedback mentions are truth triggers, relationship triggers, and identity triggers. So truth triggers are activated when the feedback itself feels inaccurate, unfair, or simply wrong to the person that's receiving it. So this is typically, I feel like, how a lot of people react. It's like, I can't believe you're giving me this feedback. Who are you to tell me this? I don't believe you. I'm so good at my job. No one else has ever told me this before. Like, how could you dare even say that? And then you have relationship triggers, and those are activated based on the dynamics and the history between the feedback giver and the recipient. So basically, what I just went over, relationship triggers they do vary based on your personal relationship with someone. So maybe you're not as triggered with your colleague that you've been friends with for over a year now. Like you believe that they're like telling you everything that they know from their own experience, or maybe your boss that you're really close with. Or it can go to maybe a new manager that's a part of the team that you don't really trust, that you don't really know. Your feedback can definitely be more hesitant towards receiving the feedback can definitely be more hesitant towards them. And then identity triggers are activated whenever feedback challenges or threats that the recipient, sorry, these triggers are activated when feedback challenges or threatens the recipient's self-image or identity. So I'm going to go back to the truth trigger and how to apply this to your life. So this has a lot to do with self-awareness, being aware of your reactions whenever you receive feedback, being aware that you're not screaming, yelling, angry, upset, that you're giving yourself time to also pause and reflect, to take a moment to process what's been told to you. Hannah, my manager, like I said, I trust her with my entire life. And we had a conversation one time where she gave me some feedback that I wasn't really expecting. And I didn't necessarily have an answer for her of what I was going to do next. And I really didn't say anything, which also can be unhealthy, but I just kind of processed my emotions. And then later that day went to her and said, okay, you gave me this feedback. Here's how we're going to run with it. And she truly appreciated the fact that I acknowledged it even after the fact. But she appreciated that I took time and didn't react right there in the moment. And then another way to apply yourself towards the truth triggers is to stay open and remind yourself that feedback is an opportunity for growth, even if it's uncomfortable at times. So going back to that situation, it really was a kind of feedback where my decision definitely would tell you if I've grown at all since working here, or if I'm simply just going to stay the same young person that I always have been and not take responsibility for my actions. So staying open and just reminding yourself that, that feedback can be good for your growth, and whether or not you accept the feedback and run with it or not, does not matter. Either way, you can grow from the situation. Next, we have relationship triggers and how to apply those. So, ask questions. I want to make sure. Gotcha. How to apply all of these. I got so confused just now. I'm so sorry. So that's not just for the truth triggers. That's going to be for recognizing them all together, all the points that I just said. So sorry about that confusion. It definitely feels like a Monday, but it's definitely Thursday. So number 2, understanding the feedback and how to apply. So make sure you fully comprehend the feedback that you are receiving by clarifying what the giver is trying to convey and understanding the specifics of their message. So how do you apply and when it comes to understanding the feedback? Ask questions to ensure that the details that they're giving you and the intent behind their feedback is what it is. Make sure that you're not misunderstanding, you're not misconstruing whatever they are telling you, and repeat back what they said in your own words so that you are understanding that you heard them clearly. So if someone gives you feedback and then you're like, wait, so basically what you're saying is this, this, and this. And they're like, absolutely not. That is not what I meant by that. This is what I meant. Had you not asked them, is this what you meant? Then you would have left that conversation upset, angry, and then they would have left the conversation thinking, everything's fine. Like they understand they're going to change. When in reality, y'all are not just not on the same page. Y'all are like not even in the same book at that point. And then focusing on specific examples and actionable insights from their feedback. So maybe they're not just saying, one thing that I really can't stand as a person is when someone gives me a problem but doesn't give me a solution or maybe their own opinion on what the solution could be. So when someone's giving you feedback, focus on if they're giving you any examples on how to work on that, or any actionable items that you possibly could do to better yourself in general for the next time anything pops up that warranted that feedback in the first place. Next, we have number 3. Well, next and last, we have number 3, which is separate the feedback from your identity, and how to apply that. So, with separating the feedback from your identity, you have to have a growth mindset, and adopting a growth mindset that views feedback as a tool for learning and improvement rather than judgment of your abilities. So I know that when someone in my office is giving me feedback, it's definitely not out of, spite. It's not out of them wanting to judge what I can and what I am not capable of doing. It's typically always going to be them giving me ways to learn and to grow, because a lot of people that are here have been here a lot longer than me. And I just really trust the information that they're going to give me. So I know that when they give me feedback, it's for me to grow from it. Then you have feedback for development, which is focusing on how the feedback can help you grow and develop your skills. So going back to the growth mindset, I think in order to focus on how you can grow, you have to start with having a growth mindset, and then distance yourself. So mentally separating your actions and behaviors from your identity to avoid feeling personally criticized. So when someone gives you feedback, don't immediately take that feedback and say, okay, I am the worst employee ever. I can't do anything right. No one's going to trust me. Distance yourself from that. Take time to truly process your emotions and what they've said, because a lot of the times when someone gives us feedback, our emotions go through the roof. We think, the world is ending, and that's simply not true. So again, just distance yourself, give yourself time to think and process. There should be nothing wrong with that. And we'll get a little bit into it on creating a safe environment for feedback. But typically, if you are in an environment that accepts feedback, then this should be no problem at all to give yourself time to process without having to immediately give an answer. Then take a sip of my drink. Next, we're going to talk about developing a feedback receptive culture. So with having a feedback receptive culture, whether you are, again, the boss, the CEO, the manager, someone that's in charge, someone that's in charge of creating processes, of creating systems, maybe your HR operations, you have to make sure that you're developing a feedback receptive culture, or else I'm sure your turnover is astronomical. So be the example. These are leaders that should be demonstrating that they're open to feedback and willing to improve. So as a leader, a manager, a boss, you can't just be the one giving feedback. You have to be the example. You have to let your employees know, hey, I know that I'm not perfect. And I completely understand that. Just because you own a business does not mean that you are on top of the world. You have to be open to taking in feedback from colleagues, from your employees, from customers and clients, because there's absolutely no way to get better, but there's also no way to make a safe environment for those under you to have the safety of a feedback receptive culture. And then number 2 is going to be open communication. So this can be something that we do often here at Ugly Mug, is implementing regular one-to-one meetings and team feedback sessions. So every single Tuesday, our team, we have one-on-ones in our team. So managers and their colleagues, or managers and their coordinators. And then every Monday we have a team meeting where feedback is encouraged. We definitely, no one likes to get feedback, but the people that are going to give it to you best sometimes are going to be your colleagues in those team meetings, especially whenever you're communicating about your same goals. And the open communication also ensures that your employees won't fear retaliation or negative consequences when sharing their thoughts, because they know that, you're the one that's asking for this open communication. You're the one that's saying it's allowed. So they're not going to be worried like, okay, he said I can speak my mind respectfully, but am I going to get fired because of it? That should not be the case. They should never think that. Otherwise, you do not have as much of a receptive culture as you think you do. And then lastly, we have providing the tools. So this can be something such as getting books for your team, or maybe suggesting books for your team. Wayne, like I said, gets us a book pretty much every quarter. And this last quarter, we read Thanks for the Feedback. And there are, tons of books on any kind of subject that you think would be beneficial, but specifically for feedback, provide the tools for them, provide the books for them. And then also, you can also implement exercises that practice giving and receiving feedback in a safe and controlled environment. So, maybe it's hypothetical situations, but it's in your office, and, I feel safe knowing that we're all on the same page. We're doing this seminar together. You're giving feedback, I'm giving feedback, I'm receiving, you're receiving, but we're in a safe and controlled environment, and we're going back to the open communication. I'm not scared that I'm going to lose my job because of it. So just to go back and recap, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to leave those. Sorry, I meant to say that at the beginning, but leave any questions that you have down below. And if I can't get to them now. I will definitely answer them later. So just to recap what we talked about in the last 20 minutes was learning what feedback really is and all that it entails. It is not simply just someone telling you that you're doing something wrong. I thought that before reading this book. I thought feedback was literally just someone saying, you're wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're not capable, X, Y, and Z. And it is so much more than that. And I feel like even in the last 20 minutes, we've learned that it's so much more than just that. Number two, take time to evaluate where your feedback is coming from. So this goes back to who is giving you the feedback, why are they giving you the feedback, and how are you going to take that feedback and process it? Are you going to immediately respond to them? Are you immediately going to scream and yell because what they told you is not what you wanted to hear? It shouldn't be. So take time to evaluate where the feedback is coming from. And then number three, implement feedback into your business model in a healthy way. Create that safe environment, create open communication so that people know, this is a place where I feel safe. And typically whenever feedback is open and you allow for this communication, and people are willing to make changes based on that makes sense. Typically your turnover will probably be a lot lower, and your employees will just want to stay with you for a lot longer of a time because they know that this is the kind of culture they want to be a part of. So here are a few quotes from the book that I highlighted. Again, I have all of these tabs, so I highlighted a ton of things from the book. But I was just looking through it, and these are 4 quotes that really spoke to me at the time. And then again, today when I was reviewing it, just to kind of give you maybe some insight and you want to read the book or you're thinking about it. Here's some quotes. So if any of them speak to you and you're thinking, yeah, this is the book that I need to read next. So our triggered reactions are not obstacles because they are unreasonable. Our triggers are obstacles because they keep us from engaging skillfully in the conversation. So basically this is saying your triggered reactions they're not uncalled for. However, they are the reason why you can't have open communication, why people maybe are scared to give you feedback and you can't grow from it because of the way that you react to it. Another one is, while we all need to feel accepted as we are, we also need to hear feedback, particularly when our behavior is affecting others. Being accepted is not an escape hatch from responsibility for consequences. So basically, I love this quote because it's basically saying, you need to accept your coworkers as they are, make them feel loved. Feedback is important, but that's not going to give them an excuse to act the way they are. Being just, quote, who you are does not give you an excuse to be mean to people. It does not give you an excuse to feel like you're better than anyone else. Love that quote. And then another one, anything that helps you see a dark situation from a different point of view is beneficial. That one speaks for itself. I love that quote. And then lastly, there are enough real challenges in life. You don't need to create imaginary ones. So this is where the communication part comes in, especially whenever someone initially gives you feedback. Not so much the open communication part from a business owner standpoint, but from your own standpoint. When someone gives you feedback, make sure that you're asking those questions. Don't just assume that you know what they mean, especially if it's not cut and dry. And even if it is, again, just ask those questions. Is this what you meant by this? And they'll either say, yes, that's exactly what I meant by this. Or they're going to say, oh, absolutely not. I'm so glad you asked. Let's talk about, what I really meant and how, you will better understand it. So don't create imaginary challenges. There are enough real challenges in life. So that is slightly the end of this webinar. So if you want to win a free copy of Thanks for the Feedback, send an email to me, which is lily@uglymugmarketing.com, letting me know something that you learned from today's webinar to enter. If you're watching this after it's already been live and it's not the 26th, so tomorrow, Friday the 26th, you can still email me if you're watching this tonight or maybe tomorrow morning. You still have time. I'm probably going to pick it around noon Central Time. So, you guys definitely have time, but don't wait. So one person will be picked to win a free copy of Thanks for the Feedback from me. So again, just send an email to lily@uglymugmarketing.com, letting me know something that you learned from today's webinar. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you have a question, again, there's my email, there's our phone number. I don't believe anyone left any comments or questions. Hopefully not, 'cause I'm not seeing them on my end. But if you did and maybe I just didn't answer it, again, please feel free to email me or comment on this webinar, and I would be happy to talk with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to getting some emails from y'all. I hope you have a great rest of your day.